Hello folks, today is Tuesday, November 28, 2023. My name is Todor Vodov and this is the 13th episode of Keeping It Realistic, a show in which we together go through all the projects that have been posted in the Chaos Campus Facebook group within the last week, talking about their strengths but also pointing out their weaknesses and eventually suggesting ways to improve them. You know, in the beginning of the last few shows, instead of jumping right into the projects, I started with some announcements, news, interesting stuff around our field, and today will be no exception. This is what we will be doing right away. I see Jhon, I see Wuchu. Hello folks, glad to have you on the show. Let's begin with the first topic for today being I will just remove myself quickly, being the title image for today's show. How do you like it? I hope you like it. I can tell you that it was kind of difficult to decide which images to include, as there were a lot of good options this time. In the end, it was the images by Jhon, Alessio and Janitha that won out and managed to be part of this triptych. For Jhon, I think it is the third time. For Alessio, it's the second. And for Janitha, it is the very first time. So congratulations, Janitha. And of course, congratulations to all of the rest. Now, on the last show, I told you that I actually went back to the very, very first episode in September and made such images for each and every show that we have since then. And I showed you those images and you liked them a lot and you wanted me to actually share them in the group, which I actually did later. I did so last week. And this post actually sparked a lot of joy. So with artists just, feeling appreciated, happy or honored to be a part of this, which is actually exactly how this is meant to be, because the show is about your works, so it makes sense to have your works on its cover image, but also these three images that you will see on every show, being different on every show and unique. This whole thing is meant to inspire and motivate you to do your very, very best. So let's say if being featured in this triptych makes you go, you know what, I will invest a few additional hours to make my project even more realistic, even better, or give it a nicer framing, lighting, whatever, better materials, then so be it. In the end, it doesn't matter what exactly motivates you to be better, as long as you are better in the end. So it could be wanting to be a part of this cover image, it could be wanting to be featured in the VW Art Club, or to be maybe a contender for one of the best images for the day or for the week or for whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just about you making the best out of your work, or maybe adding a bit of additional effort or hours into to step up the quality of your work. This is what the whole thing is about. So again, I think it works. I think you enjoy it a lot, and this is really awesome. I see in the meantime Brenton, Smith, Sebastian, and Tomasz joined us today. Welcome, folks. Let's move on to the next topic, which is Black Friday. Black Friday is over. Cyber Monday is over as well. If you guys have this or not, I don't know. It comes from the USA. We also have it in Germany here. What does actually over mean? Last week, it's like the Black Friday. It's the Friday, right? But actually, the whole last week was the Black Friday week. Now, this week, it's Cyber Monday, so it's about more technical stuff, which is okay, or electrical stuff, which is cool. But actually, now the whole week is a Cyber Monday week. After that, the Christmas or end of the year sales come. So yeah, at some point, it's just continuous sales, or maybe not. You don't know. Anyway. Now that it is over, we had this featured post in the group, this pinned post with a lot of links to nice sales shared. Again, we don't get anything out of this, so it doesn't matter to me or to Chaos if you bought anything out of this. We don't get money for that or something, so it's just for your convenience. But yeah, I see a lot of people in the chat, so gladly let me know. Did you get some good deal, or did you buy something, a new piece of software, of hardware, a course maybe, or I don't know, an asset library, for example. Remember, we don't do this show as a recording, but as a live session, so that we can actually talk with each other. So let's do so. Let me know if you got something, if you got a good deal, and how did you get it? Did you stumble upon something and you were like, oh, this sounds like a good deal, I'll invest in it? Or was it more like you were waiting for something to be on a sale so that you can buy it? I can tell you about myself. I personally desperately need a new graphics card because mine is already old and is starting to die on me. I don't want to complain at all because it was a great companion over the years, but it's just getting old. So I need a new one, and I was aiming for a 4090 RTX GPU, which I didn't get any sale or good deal on. Actually, those cards actually started getting more expensive around the Black Friday. I'll just give you an example. I was thinking about buying this MSI card, which was around 2,050 euro, which is like a big investment. But yeah, I decided I would do it, and but I was not sure, so I asked in a forum if this is a recommendable one, a good one. And on the next day, I actually sat down in order to purchase it. And in the meantime, it has gotten from 2,050 euro to 3,380 euro. So it's like 1,300 euro additional euro just overnight, which is obviously, it's just insane. So obviously I didn't buy it. Where I made a deal was with the new power supply unit that I need with a stronger graphics card. There I made a good deal, and I bought myself a small course that I'm very excited about. So again, if you have made something, if you experienced something interesting around the Black Friday, gladly let us know, let us talk in the chat. And in the meantime, I will move on to our next topic, which is the monthly project recreation challenge, which we had this month for the first time. Now, today is November 28th, as I said in the beginning, so there are only 2 days till the end of the month. So if you participate in the challenge, please make sure to submit your work within the next 2 days, because if you do so in December, we won't be able to, you won't be able to participate. I already saw some submissions in the group. Georgi, I think, uploaded as first, then Janitha, then Mario. It's looking very good. Personally, today I will skip talking about their works, because if there still are people out there who want to participate, I don't want to influence them. So the winner will be announced on our next show in a week. still, I want to mention something and show you something. So, as Mario posted his work, I want to show you Janitha's comment. I think his work got very positive attention. I cannot understand quite everything. Please, folks, write in English. This is the official group language, so that everybody is able to understand everything. But apart from this, I wanted to show you Janitha's comment, especially because, like Janitha, as Mario uploaded his work, Janitha had already uploaded his version of this recreational project. So we can say that both are in a certain type of competition between each other. Now, as I announced the challenge, I ask you to not think about so much about the prizes and the rewards and stuff like that, but concentrate more on the fact that you're working on a new project, that you're exercising your skills, that you're learning new stuff, that you end up having new images or image for your portfolio and so on, right? So this is what counts more. But still, let's say everybody likes winning stuff, everybody likes being the first one. So let's say these two are in a direct competition in this case. Still though, instead of being like envious or jealous or whatever, Janitha reached out to Mario to tell him that he finds his work awesome and thinks that it is the best one so far, even though he himself has a rendition of this image. And let me tell you why I think this is really awesome. First of all, it shows some really great attitude on Janitha's side. It shows that he's a great guy. But second, it also shows a very good and healthy community where, instead of the members being envious and putting each other down, they actually lift each other up and praise each other and help each other and grow together. So I think that this is absolutely wonderful. So this is why I explicitly wanted to mention this, because this is what we need for a great community. This is just nice sportsmanship. This is just being cool. This is a community I myself want to be a part of, and I'm gladly a part of. And talking about the community, let's take a look at the chat. I won't be showing you the whole chat or so on, but I can tell you that there have been very many discussions. So much help and feedback has been provided in the chat. A lot of topics have been talked about, links have been shared, like useful links and so on. It is really lively. Every day there is something that people discuss and talk about, people asking for suggestions or advice and also getting it. And just take a look at this comment that I saw. I think it was on Saturday. I just took a look at the group and I saw this comment by Brenton, who is, I think, with us today, who said, we'll say, being new to the chat, the amount of help shown here is unprecedented and a welcome breath of fresh air. Just so you know, it's not only me talking how awesome everything is, it is others, people who are even new to this group, join it and immediately acknowledge how great, what great stuff we're doing here. Because let's be honest, let's take a look at the last 3 months since this show started. Because before that, the group was slowly but surely starting to turn in one of those lifeless online galleries where people just drop by to share their images and then move on, and that's it. Sure, I was providing feedback. Occasionally some of the others, like Amit, for example, was doing that too. But still, it didn't feel like a lively community to me. And since the show started, it is getting more and more in the direction I think it should be. So first the show started, then some people got inspired by the idea or the spark of this show, I would say, and then jumped right in and started being actually very active. And again, if you take a look at the chat, you see here Abderrahman, Danushka, Mario, Nico, they provide so much help to the others, but also Simon, Fletson, Sebastian, he's also here today, Takur. This is just great. This is how it should be. And remember, this feedback that you're providing there, this is not just an act of altruism, like you're doing something for the others and nothing stays with you, or you get nothing out of it, because this is not true. First of all, the topics that you discuss, these are situations that you yourself may encounter later in your work. And if you have already thought about them, if you have discussed them already, maybe seen them done in a wrong way, next time you encounter them, you will do them right. So you learn from this experience. But this is not everything. Like you see Abderrahman helping a lot. I think he's like the most active in the chat. But as soon as he needed help, he needed feedback for a work of his, there was so much answers and so many opinions shared to his work. And believe me, something which I can tell you out of my personal experience through the last years. People see when you try to help them, people remember this. So I'll give you an example. This year, 2023, in the beginning, in January, I started providing feedback in the VW Art Club, like on a very regular basis. Not daily, but pretty regular basis. And I was doing this for 4 months already, and then I uploaded a work of mine. And it was so interesting to see how people, even artists that are less skilled than I am, who are trying to give back. So they tried to also tell me something to improve, to give me this constructive criticism that I tried to provide. So there were people writing stuff like, well, it's really difficult to find something to criticize. Maybe you can do this one corner in a different way, stuff like this. So people will see, if you try to help them, if they need help and you're there for them, the moment you need help, they will most likely also be there for you. And so this pays off. It's not only altruism, because obviously it costs time, right? You must put some effort, you must put some of your time to help others. So if you're asking yourself, yeah, what do I get out of it? You get something, believe me. But yeah, other than this, I also see more feedback in the group generally given. I see a lot of feedback provided by Aman, by Abdi as well. Also Abdi, he's a motion graphics artist, right? So he's not into Alwis, but because the group became more lively, he now tries to always find this intersection point between Alwis and motion graphics. So he's now supplying us with tutorials about how to do this and that, which is Alwis related in Tyflow or whatever, which is pretty great. Also, we have gained the attention of some really seasoned and skilled artists. I won't say names, but I think you know some already, who also share their work in the group, whose work we also talk about, who also watch the shows and so on. So also the general amount of projects that are shared and their quality has risen significantly. So we're building something here and it works just within 3 months. Like, this is not a long period of time, but just within this small period of time, it's not even full 3 months, we managed to really change the group and to turn it into a lively community. So my suggestion is to really keep it this way and make the most out of it, because we all profit from that. And now, with all the good stuff out of the way, there is one serious topic, and maybe not very positive one, that I would gladly talk about with you. Oh, hi Abdi. Abdi just joined us, and yeah, on this one I will really need your involvement in the chat. I will really need to hear what you have to say about this, because again, this is a very, very important topic. So please be active and share some thoughts in the comments, because last week there was this survey in the VW Art Club started by Vasilis, who asked, according to what you've experienced during 2023, do you think that there is or will be a local or even global economic crisis in the architectural visualization field? Comments analyzing your thoughts are most welcome. And you see, it's like 168 answers, and overwhelmingly people say yes. Like 71% say yes, another 12% say maybe, and 70% say no. So the majority says that there is a crisis in our field. And Tom here explains it very nicely. He says resources prices are high, expensive, the bank loans are expensive, which means production inflation growing, mortgage is more expensive, the building process becomes more expensive in general, so there are less architectural jobs on the market, which then again means less archivist jobs as well. So this is something I would really want to know and to hear from you in the comments. How is your personal experience? Did something change for you this year? Is it like a tough time? Do you sense a crisis approaching, or maybe one which is already there? Or is it more like nothing changed for you and you're like, what are you folks smoking? I have so much work, I don't know what you're talking about. So please, because this is one important topic, I can imagine that we also make a survey like this in our group as well, because this is something that needs to be talked about, that needs to be faced the way it is. If there is a crisis, then there is a crisis. We cannot really do much about it, but maybe we can adapt to it and so on. But maybe there isn't a crisis everywhere. Maybe it's just like in the Western countries or something like this. So gladly, if not now, then maybe after the show, or if you watch the recording, gladly share some thoughts on this topic, because this is something that is important to all of us, I would say. And with this being said, I can actually jump right into the group to where we left last time, and this is here. This was the last show, and after that the first post is by Jhon Parada, who says, hello everyone, I'm looking for work as a renderer or archivist. I have more than 2 years of experience in commercial and residential projects. I am a certified user of the Chaos Group. I am immediately available if required. I leave you part of my work. Thank you very much. Now, this is not a specific project. It is more like a sampler out of Jhon Parada's portfolio, which, as you know, I usually would just skip because it's more or less self-promotion, and this is not what we aim at with this show. But in this case, in this specific case, I know that it is Jhon's, what Jhon wants to do is actually to get some projects to work on in order to finance his architectural studies. So yeah, I will make an exception and quickly go to the images. I won't be commenting on them in terms of like reviewing them, but more or less on the general sampler of Jhon's portfolio, starting with this one because I want you to see what he works on. The images are generally actually pretty good quality, I would say. The only thing I would change on this one is that I wouldn't begin with a half a tile and end with half a tile, but try to have whole tiles here in this. Other than that, this is a pretty cool image. The second one is one image where I personally would remove out of the portfolio or the sampler, because the house itself is okay, but the surroundings look kind of fake. Like this is last gen, let's call it like this, in terms of computer games. The trees aren't that realistic, the grass isn't that realistic. It just isn't on par with the rest of the images. This one is great, looking good. It's simple but crisp and nice. This one is wonderful. I don't know if this is a recreation of an existing project, or maybe this is just a commercial one that you worked on, or something that you developed yourself. Whatever it is, it looks great. This should actually be the very first one, and gladly in a high resolution, because it looks really awesome, also very atmospheric. This one is also very realistic. I mean, I still struggle to believe that this is a render, because lots of parts of it just look like a photo. This is really awesome. This one, very atmospheric and nice one. This one, I'm not so sure if you really need it in your portfolio, because you have better examples here. It looks like a decent image that you make like a few years ago, so maybe you can get rid of it. You see, like the carpet is very stiff, and generally it's like not the best image out of all that we've seen so far. This one, perfect, it's great contrast, just a very beautiful image. Keep it, and then we're back at the first one. So yeah, I just wanted to show it to everybody watching this show, because maybe if let's say the situation that we just talked about, this maybe crisis in our field, it is not something that is that happened to you, and you have a lot of work on your hands. Maybe at some point you need a helping hand, and then you maybe can think about reaching out to Jhon and asking him for help, which is something that it seems both sides will profit from. And still, to you, Jhon, a personal message of mine. I think, I mean, I really understand that you want to earn money with Alwis, because this will also give you experience and so on. This makes sense. But again, we currently have a difficult phase in our industry, so maybe consider doing something less qualified for the money only. You know, like 2 or 3 shows back, I was reviewing your work, and by the end of it, I told you, during my architectural studies, in order to finance them, I was washing dishes, I was a barkeeper, I was a fry cook grilling burgers like SpongeBob. There is no shame to that. Work is work. You need the money. Just try to make the money to finish your studies. This is what counts. It doesn't matter how you make that money. Finish your studies, and then you can concentrate more explicitly on Alwis or whatever. And with this being said, I will move on. Brenton says, work is definitely slow in the industry. I work for one of the biggest Alwis firms in the States, and we've had 2 rounds of layoffs due to lack of work. Oh, this sounds bad. Like 2 rounds of layoffs is really bad. I hope you weren't one of those layoffs. I hope you're still there. But obviously, in the beginning, I thought it was like more of a Western European problem, because a lot of countries here were dependent on Russia, and then the war came and the sanctions came and everything were more expensive and inflation came. So yeah, it's not the best time, but I thought it's like more local, at least in Europe. But it seems, in the USA it's not better, and around the world, according to this survey that we saw in the VW Art Club, it is just a bad time for our industry. To be honest, it's something that just needs to be addressed, because if there is a problem, we just need to face it, right? Let's move on to the next. I mean, this is where I shared with you those retrospective images. I already showed you this, so we can move on to Suchit's project with this boho interior set. He says it's a residential project, boho interiors, including boho decor inspiration for the bedroom, done in 3ds Max, V-Ray and Chaos Vantage. The description is okay. Yeah, it's very short and technical, but still quite informative. I'm missing the information about if this is a commercial or a personal project, and maybe some project background. Why the boho style? Did you develop it, or did the client want it, and so on. As for the image presentation, on the positive side, I think it's visible. The image look very constant to each other, so this visual consistency is absolutely given. But on the negative side, even here as Mo previews, the images look kind of washed out and contrastless. And if I have seen something throughout the last years, when I was very much, and still am, into providing feedback, is that when a work looks like that, when it just looks washed out already on those small thumbnails, people usually tend not to click on it, not to enlarge the images and then interact with your post, but rather skip it. Just so you know, I cannot say that this is like a official statistic or something. This is just my impression out of the recent years and a lot of experience. But let's take a closer look at the images. We have this boho I don't know. I mean, you say it's boho. This won't be my first association, to be honest, but that's okay. We have this bedroom with a small terrace on the outside. We have the central perspective of it, viewing the terrace. We have this nice angle where we see the whole space. So there is this one appendix here with a makeup table and a desk. And then we have two close-ups. This one, what I just talked about, and then a beautiful close-up on the two pieces of art on the nightstand next to the bed. And then we're back at the first shot. I would say that the design is pleasantly spacious, the furnishing goes together well, the color palette is harmonious and suiting, to be honest, because what we have here is like a bedroom, so it's usually pretty nice if we have like suiting colors, more a mellow coloring and color palette to a bedroom, because this is again a space where people go to lay down, to chill, to unwind. Modeling and material wise, I also don't have anything to say or to criticize. Everything seems pretty fine as well. The assets look nice that you have used. Some of them seem to be from the Cosmos gallery. The only thing that I don't like that much is the parquet texture, because it just very much looks like a texture. So I think it needs a better glossiness map to it. And when it comes to the grouts, they are kind of too wide but not deep enough, so you may want to rework this one. I see Watchu has written something wrong. I will gladly read it afterwards, but now I will continue with this, and then if there are some other posts, I will gladly read them from the chat after I'm finished with Sachit's review. And I think we can go through the shots one by one. Let's starting with this first one. So first of all, here I think that the field of view is like needlessly strong. It seems like you have a very low focal length here, which yeah, it's true. It gives the room a spacious look and it shows a lot of it, but at the same time it very much distorts the proportions. Like you see it here on the wardrobe, you see it here on the table. It's not that great. Also, the image is kind of unbalanced, to be honest, because like on the left side, too much is happening. Like you have the dark flowers, the hydrangeas on the outside. You have this very contrasty pampas vase. You have this, of course, the plant, which is just coming in from the side, and it is very dark, very saturated. And to the right, if you squint your eyes, it's just more or less a beige area, and that's it. Also, small detail but important, you have two identical books on the nightstand. Now, if this was some kind of a library or a bookstore, it would make sense to have like repeating sets of books. But in this case, I have never seen somebody read two times the same book. This just doesn't make sense. So if you have two different books, that's okay, but not two times the same one. This just makes no sense. And also, if you have something which rages into the build like this plant, gladly use depth of field. It's really a strong recommendation. Second shot, again, very strong field of view. It nicely shows the relation, the visual relation between the bed and this lowboard and the TV mostly. But again, the proportions are skewed. You see how prolonged this lowboard is and the TV, and I mean this lamp here, it's supposed to be round, like sphere, and it's rather oval right now. The third one, it's the same with just something better here, and you gotta know this. When you have a strong FOV or like, you know, low focal length values, if you have it, it's the strongest distortion is towards the edges, right? So if we take a look at this low board, you see it's close to the edge, so it's prolonged. If you take a look at it here, it looks way more normal. So in this case, you have most of the objects you have in these mid areas of the image where the distortion isn't so strong. Like in the middle of the image, the distortion is very low, but towards the end, like on this armchair, for example, or this table, it's very strong. So if you use strong FOV or low focal length value, then make sure that you don't have important or big or very much visible stuff around the edges, because this is where it gets very visible. Other than that, I would say maybe use some depth of field on the bed, but it's better than the first two angles in my opinion. The fourth one, the close-up, let's call it, has good field of view to it, good focus. You see how the proportions look authentic this time and not distorted. It has nice atmosphere, some depth of field. This is cool. And the fifth one, similar to your last project, the fifth one is again the best one, because here you did everything right. And I don't know what people in the comments would say, but to me this is definitely the best shot. It's beautiful, the framing is nice, the depth of field on the plant is great, the cropping, it's just the best one. So like I said last time, orient yourselves to your best close-up and try to make all the images similar to this one. And generally, talking about this work, the general look of the shots, as I already stated in the introductional part, is pale and kind of too uniform. They just lack depth, they lack real contrast, nothing really pops out here. So yeah, I mean, I will show you something here. So you see, I searched for boho interiors because you said this is like boho. First of all, take a look at the images to the left. You see how strong of a contrast we have. Like we have crisp, clear images. Doesn't matter if it's boho or not. You see how the images are very strong, even a small thumbnails. But I deliberately chose one which is similar to yours, so it has mostly white and beige, nothing else, no strong colors whatsoever. And you see, if we compare it to yours, you see how yours just looks muffled, like dulled out. And if you take a look at this one, you see how clear and crisp everything is. So you definitely need to work on that so that your images don't look like as if we're watching them through a veil or through fog or something, right? So they need more clarity, more contrast, more saturation. I think this was a bit of a issue on the last images that you shared. So if this is your image, I took it over to Photoshop and tried playing around with it. But yeah, you see how with the means of post-production I managed to at least put some of the eye-catching area to be the bed, which is actually where it should be, by just gave the whole scene more saturation. I desaturated this plan and also made it brighter so that it doesn't stick out visually that much, and I gave this area here more contrast, more light. So if you compare the two, you will see that this one is less muffled, less dulled out, but still it is something that you should actually make work during your render time and not only in post-production. And for that you need a clear idea for your lighting composition and for your lighting hierarchy. So I would suggest start adding your lights one by one, overwrite all materials with the gray one, and then start adding first the global illumination, the natural light coming from the outside, and then add a few like artificial light sources on the inside, and then balance them out until the parts that are actually important stick out. Because it's not the garden, it's not the hydrangeas that are important, it's also not this vase, it is the bed, it is what we should concentrate on. This should be the one that sticks out, like an actor on a stage. You have the spotlight on them and they really stick out. What you're doing here is more or less the same. So again, I think in conclusion we can say this is a very solid base that you have built yourself here, but you need to pay more attention to making the image have nice clarity, nice contrast, a clear lighting hierarchy, and better lighting composition, and not just give them light enough so that they are illuminated and then call it a day. And with this being said, I see Iannuzzi, another great artist. He says, "Hey, Todor Vodov, I really enjoy your show. Keep going. I gladly do. Thanks for your kind words, Ines. And let's see what Jhon has to say. He says it's about a topic about us being in a different phase in the Alwis industry or in the visualization industry in general. He says, I personally remember the previous crisis of 2009. Who doesn't? For me personally, it opened up new possibilities. At the time, I had just left my current job as an Alwis artist in a local firm and was looking to start freelancing. It ruined my plans for some anticipated projects, but it made me look harder for new ones. Obviously, if we have some hardships, if we have a difficult situation, we just have to deal with it. We have to adapt. We cannot just stay there and whine and just bath ourselves in pity. We have to do something about it. So I truly understand, and sometimes maybe we should try to go into a slightly different direction, like project visualization or animation or whatever, if currently the Alwis industry is hibernating until it wakes up again. This is just what we have to do, or support ourselves in a different way. I don't know. I don't have the ultimate solution for everything. Anyway, let's move on to Janitha's work. He says, while working on a project, it's for close-up lovers. Software is 3ds Max and V-Ray. Post-production in Photoshop. Thank you. So his one image here, it actually made it to the cover of today's show, which is great. Congrats on that once again. Presentation-wise, nice description. Gladly mention if this is like a commercial or a personal work, of course, and then also what the whole thing is about, because it could be a restaurant, but it could also be a private home, and I actually wasn't able to figure it out just on hand of these two images. As for the image presentation, I really like the contrast and the continuous and consistent contrast and crispness of those two images, but of course there is an obvious inconsistency when it comes to color, because the one image is black and white while the other one is colorful. Gladly tell me why this one is black and white. Is there a particular reason for that or not? Now, it is not a full project. It's more or less two close-up shots, but so I think we can just quickly take a look at them one by one. First one, sweet shot. It could really be one from a restaurant's booklet, for what I know. Great framing, good depth of field, sweet contrast. Personally, and this is very subjective, please remember this, when I see a black and white image and some white roses, my association is something bad or sad, like I don't know, people who have just broken up, or some funeral vibes even. So just so you know, maybe it's just me, maybe it's the others as well, I don't know, but just so you know. And regarding the roses, and this whole set here, it's not the best one. Like, if you take a look at this rose, it doesn't really look very realistic, to be honest. And as for the second shot, it's an interesting angle, it's a pleasant composition and depth of field. The roses are again a bit of the issue. This time we see that they're not so realistic again. Also this bowl or whatever this is, pot that they're in, I think if it's a vase, it should be filled with water. If it's a pot, it should be filled with soil. But the way it is, it's just not very realistic, especially from this angle. But in conclusion, I understand the joy of extracting more images out of your work in form of close-ups. I personally do it on every project of mine. Really, you see, even on exterior project, if you go here to close-up, you see that I try to always extract close-ups again, even if it is like exterior scenes. I will still do it just because I enjoy them so much, and it also gives me a few additional images, because you know how I see it, one image doesn't make a portfolio project, but two or more images are already a project. So I always try to turn my work into projects rather than single images. And I recommend this to all of you, honestly. here is the first submission to our monthly challenge, Georgis. Hello folks, after a long pause I present you another render. This render is a challenge render that was announced by Theodor. I hope you like it. This is my version and I tried as much as possible to make it look like it was the goal of the challenge. It looks good to me. Again, we won't be talking about this today, but yeah, here you see the first submission to our challenge. And we can then... Did I skip something? No. Janitha. Then we have Jhon, right? Jhon with a pair of restaurant shots. So let's take a look at them. What he says is, hi, I want to share this project, successes, blessings, and keep rendering. Design is by Idea Arquitectura and Alwis is by Entorno Arquitectura Studio in Ecuador. Another short, let's just keep them down for now. Another short but informational description. Seems like it is a commercial project, I would guess. But what we're missing is the software combination used and maybe a bit some background info, because this looks very interesting and it's always great to know a bit more about this. I guess you think your English isn't good enough to share so much information, but again, it doesn't have to be perfect at all. It just has to, or you can use a translator. But it's not about perfection. It's just about providing more information, right? We will understand it. And regarding the image presentation, the shots look very lively, very detailed and realistic. But the visual consistency isn't that great, to be honest, because the first shot is very crisp, very contrasty, and the second one seems slightly washed off. Right, so I know this is an evening shot and this is like a day shot, but still, when we take a closer look, you see what I mean. And by the way, before we move on, I checked your Behance because I was looking for further images. I couldn't imagine a project like this to only have those two, and I have found out that you actually have added music to the project on Behance. So, and very, very fitting music, by the way. So this is pretty cool. And for those of you who didn't know that this was an option, like me, for example, now you know it. You can add music to your, like a player with a certain song to it, to your Behance project. And I think this is something great. I hope that someday it also becomes possible on Facebook as well. Now, let's take a closer look at the images. There is a lot to praise here. Great modeling, great texturing as well, beautiful sets used. I want to separately mention the table decoration because it is absolutely awesome. And the reason for this is that, first of all, it looks very authentic. Secondly, it's not like too clean or sterile. It looks like, I don't know what this is, maybe salt and pepper. This would be the classic stuff. This is maybe sugar. Then the other two, there are probably some, I don't know, chili flakes, whatever. And then there is a small plant. And on each table, it's different. You see that on the second table, it's even a different set of utensils or, salt and peppers and whatever. And this is just great. I remember it was one of the first shows. I think it was this project by Amit, a restaurant scene. And we talked a lot about table decoration because I see it often with artists just putting huge vases with large flowers in them. But again, try to think about when you visualize something, don't only think about the image and the light and so on. Also think about the design and the functionality. Does what you visualize make sense at all or not? So if you imagine we had a huge vase here and you sit there on the other side of you, somebody else sits and you try to talk with each other, to communicate, and then there is a huge plant between two of you, it would be very, very inconvenient, right? So what you need is actually something like this. Those plants, for what I know, it could just be large plants that Jhon has scaled down. It doesn't matter. It just looks nice. It's a small plant, different on every table, and then this very nicely looking and fitting to the whole atmosphere. Bowls and salt and peppers and so on. It just looks awesome this way. The lamps are also very beautiful, very elegant. The materials look pretty nice. The color palette is beautiful. The framing is really cool. Only thing I wish is that you didn't cut off this part of the lamp. If possible, try to avoid something like this. So this is your image, and this is your image if this part wasn't cut off. You see, it just looks a tiny bit better. It's not like a huge difference, but it's just better cropping. On the negative side, again, is this second shot having less contrast and being less crisp than the first one, because we have the first one, it's really great, and then we have the second one, and you see it kind of looks washed out. It also lacks the depth of the first shot, and I think that there are multiple reasons for that. First of all, we see that the sunlight is coming from pretty much behind the camera, which often results in images being flat and not having much depth to them. And also it could be that you have used like different post-production, different tone mapping here, which obviously will result in an image that looks differently. So maybe, even though I know again that this is a day shot and the other one is an evening shot, but I think that they can still be more fitting to each other. And last point of criticism, probably the biggest one, is where the hell are the other shots, man? You cannot make a scene like this with so much detail to it, and everything looks really nicely done, and then just make 2 shots. This is why I checked your Behance, because I thought you maybe shared only 2 shots here, but actually this project deserves way more shots. You can make close-ups around the bar, you can make a bar shot, you can make even a close-up on something like this. Just make the most out of it. You have already put the work into it, so just make more. And in conclusion, another very high quality work of yours. Just pay more attention to the image consistency and again extract more images. Hey, hi Mario, glad to see you here. As next we have Claudio with an announcement on a Black Friday sale from Chaos. It's already over because I think it was until November 27th. So yeah, we already talked about the Black Friday, so we will move on to the Kur. And his very cinematic scene. What he says is, "Hi friends, tried something new. How is this render? The software is used is 3ds Max, Corona, and Photoshop." I mean, the presentation is short, but actually good. We know the software combination. It's safe to assume that this is like a personal exercise. It would be great to hear a backstory with a shot like this, especially. What was your idea? What did you want to put to paper? What did you want to depict here? But yeah, even in a small preview, the image looks quite cool. It has surely a cinematic vibe to it. So let's take a closer look. And by the way, hi Janitha. You should really, Janitha, you should really watch the show from the beginning. You should watch the recording afterwards, because I was talking about how awesome you are. And this once in a lifetime event. So let's take a closer look at this image. What immediately sticks out, obviously, is the mood. It kind of resembles a paused frame from a movie where, you know, something dramatic is about to happen any minute. Now, in the comments, Zorro said it's beautiful, but I suggest to remove the car and the girl. Personally, I don't agree with that, and let this be said, this is very okay. I don't agree. I'm not the voice of ultimate truth. It's Zorro's opinion, it's my opinion. It's up to you to decide what to do with this. But yeah, I think that the girl and the car, in particular this car, which very much suits the scenery, add a layer of storytelling, like something is about to go down. The girl has just arrived here and she will go into the house and do something, whatever. So I think that they belong there, and without them this would just be too empty with nothing happening. Because if we analyze the image a bit, you will see that what the house and the car are currently doing, and the tree are currently doing, is they're building more or less an inner frame, you know, this inner frame. And here is where something should actually happen. If here nothing happens, this inner frame will be empty, and this is obviously not very good. Now, the lighting and the framing, especially in combination with the tone mapping, are really good in my opinion. This results in a strong image, to put it in Mirror Studios words. On the negative side, at least when it comes to Zoro's opinion, I partially agree with the girl not being the best choice here. Not because she's a girl, but because she looks like pretty random asset. She's also looking at our direction, like at the camera, and I gotta ask myself, why is that, right? So maybe instead place somebody who actually better fits the period in terms of clothing, because you have set a certain time period here, like with the house and the car. This girl looks kind of too modern for that, and maybe somebody who directly faces the house instead of the camera. So something like this dude, because he's like there next to the car, his clothes fit the scenery or the time period of when cars like these were in or used, and he stands next to the car watching the house, contemplating whatever. So I think this is like a stronger storytelling. Regarding the house, it looks cool on the outside, but the inside is very empty, so maybe at least add some curtains or something, because otherwise it takes away from the scene's believability. The scattering, this is because you shared this image also in the chat, and I think it was Fletson who pointed out that the trees in the back are very uniform, too sameish, which I agree with. So just maybe have them very different sizes, mix another 2 or 3 or 1 or 2 tree types, maybe a tree like this. And when it comes to this tree, it's actually very poor asset. Like you can see the edges from here. The form is great, but the set itself is poor and low poly, so maybe you can find a substitute for this image. And maybe in terms of functionality, we just talked about it, if your scenes making sense, maybe a road is needed that leads to the house some way, because it probably won't just be like a field and the house is in the middle of it, right? Usually there are some roads at least. But in conclusion, it's an exciting experiment. Keep doing those for sure, because they absolutely recharge the creative batteries of an artist. Just make sure that you have a clear idea about the story that you're telling with an image like this before you start implementing it. Like, again, why is this girl sitting there watching us? Why isn't she watching the house? Or why is she dressed like this? Why is she so modern with such a retro car? Stuff like this should be cleared out before you start actually implementing this. Then we have a pretty cool and funky and very positive from its vibe image from Abdi. Happy Thanksgiving. Personally, don't know for you guys, but personally I very much enjoyed this graphic style. I don't know how it is made. I know that there were some filters that can turn photos into something like this with an app. It was called Prisma or something, as far as I remember. But I don't know how, if it's you, Abdi, who just draw it like this, or if it's a filter or a certain method of creating such images. But I very much dig them, and I generally very much enjoy the positive vibe of this shot. And with this being said, we will move over to Alessio, whose image was the third one on today's cover image. He says, it was one of my first commission works about 9 months ago, and now the house, it's nearly finished. The client was very happy to see her bathroom come to life, nearly identical to the render, and honestly, I'm very proud of it. I wanted to share this little moment of happiness with the community. The render is done in Cinema 4D, and Corona is always It's very exciting to see a comparison like this. First of all, your description, very nice. We get all the essential info needed, but also some personal background and also some personal story of yours that you're proud. And you want to share this moment with the community. This is great. This is also what the community is for, not only to point out your mistakes and so on, or to teach you something, but to be there for you, to share your successes. When it comes to the comparison itself, it shows that you did a very great job, and you worked really accurately back then, 9 months ago. So let's take a closer look. Personally, this is again subjective. But to me, this is one really nicely designed bathroom. I would love to have a bath like this at home. It has great materials, like these even smooth tiles, and then natural stone tiles, and then you have those stripped ones which are with relief to them. This is pretty cool combination, and also a nice idea for future personal works or other works where we have to do the design. I really like the idea because the color palette remains the same. You just change the texture and the displacement, let's say, of the tiles, which is cool. The lighting concept is beautiful and it works. Obviously, we see it here in real time, how it looks like today. The functionality is also given, like we have a very nice cool shower area, even with this built-in shower head, if I'm not mistaken, if this is not like a vent or something. The sink maybe a bit small, but it's okay. Then we have a toilet bowl and a bidet. This is just cool, let's be honest. And also, but this is like the bathroom. This is what was given already. But you also did a great job depicting it. This must be said, because obviously the space proportions are very true to the original, to the actual bathroom. The materials you have depicted in a great way. You see how they look on your render and how they look in real life. It's a very good job. I'm not sure what these things are. Are they tiles or is this some kind of concrete? Gladly, I see you in the comments, so gladly tell us a bit more about those styles, because they are kind of new to me, to be honest. Now, the only difference I see here is, like the main difference is this counter where the sink is put in. On your side, you did it in this desaturated wood texture, and they decided to go with a more saturated wood. To be honest, neither of those really fits what already is there. These wooden beams, which look amazing, by the way. It's like going to your bathroom in a museum. It's just awesome. But I think that your version is better fits them than what they did here, because this looks kind of cheap, to be honest, but this is like a personal opinion. You also proved that the lighting concept works, and it really does. I also want to compliment the assets that you have chosen, because they are not over the top, there are not too many, they don't distract from the actual idea of this image, which is to present this bathroom. You have put enough assets to give it a lived-in feeling, like those two here or stuff like this. But you see, even the plant, it's just a very subtle, very clean round glass with just a twig in it. If you had like really flowers and stuff like this, it would draw too much attention. But the assets that you have chosen, they make sense, they make the bathroom lively, they show that the bathroom design works, but they don't distract. So very good choice in assets. And there isn't really much to criticize, to be honest. The only thing that I saw is that your depiction of this existing wooden beams on the ceiling isn't it's like too ordinary and tame compared to the original. So it's not a big deal, obviously, but you could have used some displacer deformer or an FFD deformer to make them look a bit more like the originals. You see, I did my Cinema 4D homework. And yeah, great work of yours. The direct comparison of your image and the current state of the bathroom proves it, and I think you have every right to be very proud of your work. Then we have another image or another submission to our monthly challenge. This time it's Janitha's. He says, "Hello everyone, this is the rendering challenge announced by Todor Vodov. I was unable to find the same assets as the original one, so I tried my best to photo match the original one. I know this is not 100%, but I enjoy the workflow and this challenge. Software is 3ds Max and V-Ray. Total of 10 hours of workflow, I got this result. Comment on my mistakes. Enjoy the work, thank you." Again, I won't be talking about the work. It looks nice at first glance. regarding the 10 hours that you needed to make this, I mean, you had a whole month for this. If you decide to challenge yourself additionally, like I want to make it as quick as possible, or if you didn't have the time to invest more hours, then so be it, nothing wrong with that. Regarding not finding the very same assets as the original one, this is okay. Of course, the closer we are, the better, but if you don't want to spend money on the original assets, or I don't know, if you don't feel like it's so important, then it is again okay. What counts the most is what you wrote here, is that you enjoy the workflow, you enjoy the challenge, you have this image in your portfolio now, so, and this is just great. Let's move on to a small announcement by Abdi. He just shared, it's not a work of his, he shared this 3-minute video by Paez about working with Cosmos materials in Vantage. Now, I'm not a Vantage user, but I watched this because it looks easy and comfortable as hell. You just drag and drop the materials into the onto your object, and it just immediately changes. I think that that looks really, really convenient, and it really makes me want to have Vantage for Corona finally at some point. Hope something like this happens. If you are a V-Ray user, however, you already have Cosmos for sure. So if you're a V-Ray user and Vantage user as well, gladly use this one, because again, it looks so easy, and I just think it shares a lot of time as well. And big thanks to Abdi for sharing this. This is the announcement for the next show, and then this is the third submission to our monthly challenge. This time is Marius. He says, "Hello group, I want to share my renders for the recreation challenge announced by Theodor. It was challenging but fun, and I learned a lot from it. I recreated the other shots too, really wanted to recreate the exterior one, but I didn't have free time. Hope you like them. Software is 3ds Max, Corona, and Photoshop. Link to the original project on ArchDaily and link to your Behance. Great description to this. Shots look very nice as well. It's also cool that you managed to recreate the other shots as well. And I think that the last one isn't even one of the original shots, but a shot that you came up with, which is again also great. And this is something that I will also recommend to the others who recreated the main shot only. Gladly take 1 or 2 close-ups in order to turn this image into a portfolio project. Yeah, but again, we will talk about this on the next show, when we will announce who is the winner, and then we can go through the projects and talk about their positives and negatives, because again, not everybody has delivered their work or submitted their work so far, and I don't want to influence anybody by pointing this and that, and eventually providing them with some unfair advantage, right? And then we move on to Amir, who has turned a sketch of his into something realistic with the help of AI. He says, "I tried to use AI to render my design sketch. This is the result. Do you think AI will replace the artist's work?" I won't talk about the topic about replacement, because this is a very broad one. We can talk for hours about it. I think we just have to adapt, and if it's possible, try to include AI solutions into our workflow where it helps us, where it saves us time, and that's it. Like a short answer, and yeah, you just saw the original sketch, and this you see what the AI did out of it. So obviously, large parts of this don't make a lot of sense. We have one C here, we have one C here, and one C is flowing into the other one, and there is a lot of stupid stuff going on here, but it certainly looks cool. I mean, this is like not really a standard project, so the AI certainly had its difficulties. It also has its limitations, but one thing must be said, that the result is pretty close at least when it comes to the general forms and stuff, pretty close to the original sketch. It has, let's say, like the idea, the direction of it captured correctly. Personally, I find it exciting to see such projects or such topics shared in the group. However, in order for them to make sense and to actually be useful, please make sure to elaborate more and describe your workflow. What AI solution did you use? How did it go? Just share a bit more about your experience rather than just posting the two, because now I don't know how you did this, right? But yeah, it's an interesting topic in general. Then we have this tutorial by Abdi. He made a teaser for it and then he shared the tutorial. It's about how to do an open curtain close simulation with TyFlow. You can take a look at this. It's like 12.5 minutes. What's important is it's done in the free version of TyFlow, so you don't have to buy any additional software to make it. And I think that Abdi very clearly explains how to do this animation. He doesn't show you how to make the room, the windows or the curtains, but it's straight to the point how you do the animation. But I don't think that the other topics are really that difficult to pull off. And again, I find it really great that we have somebody who comes from the motion graphics or VFX area or field and tries his best to actually provide some useful input to the group in the intersection point of ArcViz and motion graphics, because, you know, I don't know if you plan to animate curtains that just go off in this way. It's a very authentic and realistic motion, by the way. It really looks great by the end. Let's go somewhere here. The motion looks really authentic and realistic, physically seen. But I don't know. I mean, usually at home we pull the curtains ourselves, and it doesn't happen automatically. It happens, however, with those curtains that are 2-story of height, because this time often you don't want to do this manually. Then this happens automatically, and you can animate it like this. But you can also use it on, let's say, for a theater or a stage or an opera stage, where the curtains are automatically being pulled off, or with ropes. So there is a lot of useful info, and down here you see another animation, again I think with the basic version of TyFlow that you can just download and implement into your 3D Studio Max, where he shows a lot of different cloud simulations, wind and so on. So yeah, gladly check out his work, because especially those of you who want to animate or who want to have a bit more interesting and interactive looking parts of their image would really profit from this. Let's move on to work by Abbas with like 100 images to it. It's a recreation of a ArcDaily project. He says, this lifelike rendering is like a detailed copy of the amazing viewer scene on ArcDaily. It's all about capturing every tiny thing, how light hits, the textures, the shapes just right. Every part, like the materials and how things are placed, is made to look real. It's a nod to the original design, a picture-perfect version that makes the fantastic architecture showcased on ArcDaily. It's done in Max, Chaos, in Corona and Photoshop. There is a link to the original project and a high-resolution link to your work. So great description. All the essential infos are there, the project type, the software combination. You've also clearly stated that this is a recreation, and you have provided a link to the original reference, as it should be. The image presentation looks great. You decided to start with the floor plans of the house that you recreated, and also a collage of all the 12 images or angles that you reproduced, which I find to be pretty cool. And I would say we would go through the shots one by one and compare them to the originals. And because, like, you know, there are 12 of those shots, I won't get very much into detail, because then the show will become very, very long and also one-sided. But yeah, this is how the house looks like, the floor plans of it and the sections. and this is a collage of all the 12 images that you decided are the best to recreate. So now I will just move on here, and we will start with the very first image. It's like the dining and kitchen situation. And this is the original shot. Again, I will always start with the original shots and then show your version of it. So this is the original, and this is your version of it. I think you nailed the lighting and the general mood of this space, also the materials and the color palette very nicely. What you didn't quite ace, and this is something that happens throughout the images more or less, is to depict the beauty of simplicity. If we take a look at the original shot, you will see that there are just only a few assets here and there, and they're very subtle, very sameish also. And when it comes to this part, for example, I'll show it because then we'll move on to your version of it. It's also very fragile. We have these very small wooden slats and then the metal holders. And if we go back to yours, you will see how this wall shelf is kind of massive, kind of chunky in compared to the original. And when it comes to the simplicity of stuff, you also have small, nice assets scattered throughout, but there are like too many of those, and it kind of becomes cluttered. Just compare this area here to the original, where there are just these two rattan balls or whatever they are. So I don't think you managed to capture the soul of the simplicity of this space. Also, when it comes to the proportions, I'm not sure if they're quite right, because if you take a look at here, the kitchen island seems to be quite far away from, let's say, the back legs of this chair, while at your case it is pretty near, like you can just push down the chair and that's it. And also it seems like the kitchen island in your case is kind of lower than the original. So I think you should really check the proportions once again. Also, I'm not a huge fan of the lamps that you chose as a substitute for the original ones. This is how the original ones look like, and this is your substitute. First of all, the substitute lamps hang a bit too low, and secondly, I don't like them that much. Additionally, I mean, the original ones aren't difficult to recreate, let's be honest here, especially for somebody with your skills. It would be easy to go, and what's more, you actually have those in the Chaos Cosmos library. Here they are, so you can even use this asset and just change the proportions a bit to fit your image. So yeah, let's move on to the second one, because again, we don't want it to be too long. This is this glazed inner courtyard. This is the original, and this is your recreation of it. So your recreation is nice, but again, you didn't manage to capture the constructional beauty. If we take a look at this frame to the glazing to the courtyard, you will see that it has a thick frame here, but the frame on the side is actually sticking into the wall, so it's hidden in the wall. The one down here at the bottom is actually on the same level as the floor, so it's not visible. And the corner here is also kind of thinner than even this top frame, right? If we take a look at yours, you will see that you have this very solid, thick, chunky black frame, which takes a lot of attention. And again, didn't really manage to capture the elegance and beauty of the original construction. Another thing is that your exterior is maybe like almost overexposed. Yeah, you have direct sunlight, but the original shot also has it, but you see this area isn't that much overexposed. A certain small amount of overexposure is okay, it's natural, but don't overdo it. Let's move on to the third shot. It is this terrace with this circular hole cut in it where some greenery is growing, like grasses and a tree. Let's take a look at your version. So your version is looking good. I like the concrete, it looks very authentic. I also very much like the lighting and the shadow play, it's really awesome. The plants themselves look nice, but personally I find this green island to be over the top. Like the greenery at the bottom is too excessive, doesn't always make sense, like these random flowers here. If you take a look at the original, it just has some tame grasses, and yours is like really over the top excessive. And when it comes to the tree, even though the tree is actually good looking, its branches are kind of blocking the walkways. Like take a look at the original. You see how the form of it actually is more or less the form of the circle just put up. So it doesn't breach out to the sides and interrupt the walkways. And in your case, you have this like massive tree which people should just crouch to get under, which isn't very convenient, right? Let's move on to the next one. It's the fourth image. It's the exterior central perspective. This is the original image. And this is your recreation of it. This one is actually pretty faithful. I love details like these small weeds here. Their randomness adds a lot of authenticity to this image. The holes in the grass are maybe one too many, but it still looks good. And in this case, I think you're not here today with us, but when you watch the recording, gladly let me know which grass asset this is, because in detail, it looks really, really cool. Let's move on to the fifth shot. It's the corridor scene next to this glazing with a bench. And your version of it, it's again a very good one. The original is like more subtle. You almost don't see the bench and the stuff on it because they have just the same materials and coloring like the floor. But yours looks good as well. What we have here as an issue again is the framing, the frame of this glazing to the courtyard. Just take a look at this. Just take a look of how subtle and small this frame is, and then take a look at yours. It's so massive, it's so strong. It just isn't the architectural language spoken into this house. And you gotta, when you make a recreation, you really gotta make sure that you speak the same language. Even if you don't recreate everything perfectly, you gotta capture this language and try to speak it visually, right? And I think if I were you personally, as this is like the second image which will profit from you reworking this, if I were you, I would rework this frame to look closer to the original, because this will make your images more modern looking, nicer looking, and it is and there are like two spaces that will profit from it. Then we move on to the another exterior shot. This one, this is your version, this is the original. I don't have much to say. Great modeling, and most of all, great texturing work on your side. This one is great, it looks very authentic. We can just move on to an interior shot, which is a very interesting topic, because this is the original interior and this is your version of it. Like, these are almost two different images. Like, it's really your take on it and their take. It's not you tried to recreate it and didn't manage to recreate everything. Personally, on the original, I like the angle more, that it has some depth of field. It's also more subtle and elegant, which again is the architectural language spoken into this house. And maybe it's a bit tiny bit washed out in this corner, but I like it more. Your version has maybe better contrast and stronger, crisper, bolder color, but it again doesn't replicate the elegance and simplicity typical for the interior design of this house. Let's move on to the kitchen island or the kitchen scene. This is the original scene and this is your version. This one isn't so great, to be honest. The island seems to first to be very close or way closer to the kitchen block as in the original. Here there is a lot of more space. Also, your kitchen island doesn't resemble the original one that greatly. You see it here. And then your parquet looks fake. It's way too glossy. It misses like a good glossiness texture, some bump to it. That's compared to the original. Like the parquet is not a good job, to be honest. Then we have this scene, which again it is more of your version of the room rather than an attempt and an exact exact replication of it, because this is the original and this is your version. You even changed the lamp, even though the original lamp that we have here is again another one that you can find in the Chaos Cosmos library, just looking the same as the original. So my guess is that you just wanted to make an own take on this shot or on this space, which again, it's nothing wrong with that. I have also done recreations where I deliberately changed parts of the image, and this was just because I liked it this way more. However, your version is missing something crucial when it comes to the composition or the color composition. You see how the original has this white table and chairs in front of a very dark background. It's probably the pots of these dark pots of these plants in the back, and on your side you have just a bright background behind the white table and chairs, so you don't get this nice contrast. And what I personally miss here is a bit this like distant nice view that we have in the original. You have just blocked your view with the tree. It's a legit way to do it, but maybe you can also work with generative fill in this case and just let AI make your background for you if you have a good mask for it. Next shot, it's the terrace. It's more or less a closer shot. So this is the original image and this is yours. It's a good one. Maybe add some fallen leaves here and there. You see it here, folks. I talk about it a lot in every show. Always when you have some trees, always gather some leaves. You see this villa, it's a new one, it's a very clean one. The family that lives there has either people or they do it themselves, but everything is clean, everything is tidy, and still there is one tree and there are already leaves. So just always add leaves here and there. They add a layer of authenticity, of randomness. They make everything look more natural. Just do it. Then we have this nice bench shot. This is the original and this is yours. I partially even prefer yours because of its kind of better lighting. This one is a bit dulled out, a bit muffled, and here the bench really nicely sticks out and the interior. So I like your version here a lot. And then we have the 12th shot, the last one. This is the original photograph. And before we move on to your shot, I gotta say that I'm generally not a huge fan of this photograph because it looks like it has some vintage filter on it. It's kind of washed out. It's overexposed. It's not a very nice photo, to be honest, to work with, and it doesn't really match the other ones in the set. And actually, what you did here is kind of better because it matches more the other images in this set of shots. So your version here is the one that I prefer, only again the floor is too reflective and looks kind of fakeish. But with all of this being said, if we come back here, I think that you did a great reproduction, especially when it comes to the exteriors and their texturings, really authentic. Just again, before you start recreating something, spend some time analyzing it and make sure to really understand what the thing is. Why, as an architect, I can tell you that every decision that has been made on houses like this is a deliberate one. It didn't just happen. They wanted to use a tiny frame like this one and not a big one, even though that the chunkier one will actually be the cheaper solution. They deliberately decided to do this one so that they get a more glazing effect and like a smaller border between the inside and the outside of the house, right? So make sure to analyze that always before you do your work. Analyze it if it's a recreation. If it is a new project that you are the one to create the images for, then try to analyze the strengths of the project, the weaknesses of it. So this will help you know where to place your camera and how to deal with everything, right? So yeah, this is just a general tip on my side. And let's move on to Robert with a beautiful set of urban winter images. He says, "Hi everyone, have a good week. It's me again, the newbie. Today I want to show off a personal project I just did. It's the Hangdao water tower. It's done in 3ds Max, V-Ray, Photoshop and Mixer. The structure that looks like the Roman arena, I think you mean the Colosseum, is a water tower over 100 years old, built by the French in Hanoi. The first time I saw this project, I was really impressed with its majestic and special architecture. Postscriptum, in fact, there is no snow in Hanoi in the winter, so it's the image just for fun, which is impressive, to be honest. So first of all, great description. Provides infos about the project, the software used, but also some, it's witty. I like how you call yourself, again, the newbie. We talked about it last time. You obviously aren't a newbie, but you're new to the group, so this is cool. Also interesting to know that there is no snow in Hanoi in the winter, and the whole background story, the image presentation itself, it looks awesome. That's very authentic. So let's take a closer look. Generally speaking, it's a great idea to make a scene like this, and the implementation is even greater. I can show you here the, how was it called, Hangdao water tank in Hanoi, so it's visible that you very faithfully recreated it. So let's start with the positives, which is like the main part of this review. First of all, the scene design is great. The urban authenticity here is very, very high. And there are a few reasons for that. First, there is a lot of architectural and civil engineering detail, stuff like, street lamps, signs, the bollards, and so on. There is also a lot of randomness. Like you see, no tree is like the other one. All the trees are different, which is it's typical for the city. Also, the randomly parked vehicles. You see one car here, then there is a bus there, then there is this roller here, the scooter. And then there are tons of beautifully integrated people for the background. Very smartly, you use 3D people for the foreground cutouts because they're more realistic. Again, very smart solution. And it just leaves a very lively impression, which is obviously very typical for a city. The snow, also the building looks again very authentic to the original. Both the modeling and the texturing of it are great. The snow looks awesome. The one on the ground is also the one which is on the buildings or on the assets as well. If you're watching or later with the recording, please tell us which method you used to create the snow on the assets. Was it Tyflow, was it Polysnow or some other plugin? There are multiple ways to create snow like this, so it would be interesting to know which one exactly you used. By the way, the falling snow also looks pretty nice. It has good depth to it and also authenticity. Here again, there are lots of ways to pull this off. You can do it with just a PNG. You can but also do it like animated or in After Effects, whatever. So again, share with us how you did it. It's very interesting to know. The framing and lighting are also pretty great. The framing may seem casual, but actually it greatly and very naturally presents the building in its urban environment, which is really cool, nicely pulled off. And as for the lighting and especially the sky in general, it's very authentic. I mean, it was only yesterday that it snowed here for the first time this winter, and the sky looked exactly like this. On the negative side, obviously there isn't really much to criticize. This project just looks very, very nice. What I'm bothered by is that maybe the broadleaf trees have way too many leaves on them. It's not uncommon when the snow comes early in the year. It's not uncommon for not all trees to have lost all their leaves, so that you see snow on green leaves. But here you have way too many. Like, reduce them. And then the second thing is the blue on these street name signs. because it is just very boldly colored. It's the only blue in the whole scene. It's too saturated, and it kind of becomes of a eye catcher that you don't need at this part of the image, because the eye catcher should be your water tower. But with this being said, it's an impressive work. It's amazing how you make such a great depiction of a winter scene in a city where there is no snow in the winter. This is just awesome. I am honestly impressed by this. So yeah, and to you folks, if you're still there, hey, Flatson just joined us. If you're still there, gladly tell me if you have winter where you live, and if you have winter, how does it look like? Does it have snow, or is it just, let's say, a rainy season, or it just gets like 5 degrees colder than usual, something like this? Now, after that we have Janitha. We already talked about a project by Janitha, but it was a very short review, so I thought that we can maybe make another short review if you want to stay with me. He says, hello, this is a small fun project. I have created a sun movement animation with my toy car. For animation I used Chaos Vantage. Scattering is done using V-Ray Scatter. The software used is 3ds Max, V-Ray, Vantage and Photoshop. The animation render time is 1 hour. You say 10 seconds and 30 FPS, but the video is like 20 seconds, so this is a bit strange. A comment on my mistakes, thank you. Now, great presentation, very informative. As for the animation, I will start it, hopefully, I will remove the music, you know this. So this is the animation, I will let it run in the background. So this is this sun movement animation. It's very smooth to watch, but it's not very engaging though, I gotta say. It's at some points of this animation, it is actually pretty difficult to realize that it is an animation and not a still image. Like when the shadow here disappears, at this point it's an animation, it moves, but nothing actually happens, right? So I think that the reason for that is that you have no real shadow play. Imagine you had some really long shadows coming onto the car. The car doesn't even get a shadowy side during this animation, right? Also, nothing moves. I mean, if the grass was animated, it was slowly moving into the wind, then I think it would be a more engaging and more interesting animation. The way it is now, I must say, I watch it once and I don't want to watch it more because it just is not that interesting to me. The scene itself is actually, if you take a look at this shot, for example, it's pretty crisp. It has pretty high realism to it. The depth of field is really nice. The grass looks like juicy and really cool. The car, to me, is kind of awkwardly placed on those pile of stones somewhere in the meadow. It looks kind of totally random and doesn't seem to make a ton of sense, to be honest. Like maybe used an actual RC car instead, right? So because if you used an RC car, especially one of those which are for exterior use, it will look like an ad and it will make way more sense, like something like this. You see, here we also have a toy car placed on the outside, but I think it's immediately understandable that they want to showcase that this car can be used on the outside. It can maybe climb some rocks and so on. But you know, the Mustang here looks kind of strange. Also, it's missing its glass, or it's not. But Abdi, rightfully so, asked you where the glass is, and you said it's there, but it's just not reflective. So you know, make sure when you make something like this, make sure that all the elements of your scene actually look good and are properly depicted. And in conclusion, I think it's a cool idea to make a daylight simulation labs. The images that you have made are cool. Again, I think they would look way better with an RC car because they will just make more sense. And they will be more relatable, right? Because this way it will look like you have just maybe visualized for an RC car, a toy car company, but this one could just be like a regular car, just scaled down, because obviously this Mustang here, it won't be able to drive on these stones, so it's just pointless for it to be there. And when it comes to the animation part, try to make it more engaging. Maybe animate your greens and I don't know, maybe have some long shadows or lights or something happening, because if almost nothing happens, then the animation isn't that interesting, to be honest. And as a last thing for today, this was uploaded yesterday. I saw that today two new projects were included, but we have to skip them not to make the show too long. I try to keep it around 1.5 hours. I see Brenton said you have 72 degrees in Atlanta yesterday. We'll get mostly ice here. Okay, I gotta Google this, because I'm not. Oh no, this is not the thing what I wanted to Google. Just Google. Come on. Okay, I will just say Fahrenheit to Celsius so that I know how much this is. It's what? 72 degrees is like 22 degrees Celsius. This isn't really cold, right? And Flatson says, no, we don't, that's snow, just rain. Honestly, the last 2 years or the last years here in Germany, but also in Bulgaria, there isn't that much snow. As I was a kid, it was snowing almost every winter. So at Christmas time, we usually had like snow, like in the movies. But now it very seldomly snows. It's just a pity, because snow could be cool, even though I spent today, because yesterday it snowed a lot, I spent the morning cleaning up snow in front and around the house, so yeah, one can enjoy it or also not do so. Quentin says it's still warm for sure. Yeah, 22 degrees is just awesome. Honestly, at some point of my life, I would gladly leave snow and rain behind as much as possible and move somewhere where winter is 22 degrees Celsius. This sounds good to me. And yeah, Tilina, we don't usually talk about Tilina's projects in this way, like, talk about modeling and materials and so on. I mean, I think it's always impressive to see that these works are actually made in SketchUp. I remember when I was using SketchUp back in the day, you weren't really able to pull off something like this, or at least I wasn't. But this, such organic forms are difficult to make, difficult to texture, but he does a great job. And it's just a pleasure to watch his concepts. Some of them are already being built. I was really curious if these are just concepts or if somebody actually buys the concept and actually builds it. And as it seems, some of his houses are actually being constructed in the moment. And he promised to share some photos of an actual implementation of his ideas once they are finished, and I'm really looking forward to this, because this is awesome stuff. I mean, it's a matter of taste. Some people may not like it as much, but I find it pretty cool and interesting, and I'm happy that he's doing it, that he's sharing his work here. And again, about these two projects, I will probably review them manually, or maybe I will just start the next show with this one. Looks cool to me. So yeah, with this being said, I think we are in the end of our show. Hopefully we'll see each other next week if I don't mess up my PC, because tomorrow I will have to exchange some of the parts, the power supply unit and my graphics card, built in the new one. So hopefully I'll see you in a week at the same workplace. If not, I have to use the PC behind me, so you have a different background, but I hope this doesn't come as far. So far I was always able to manage and build my PCs, and they worked afterwards. So with this being said, again, if you have some insights about the current state of our field, gladly share this. I will probably make a survey about this, a questionnaire in the group, so that we see how it is on your side, because yeah, it's interesting to know. Loochu says, have a nice evening, greetings from Varna, greetings from Dillenburg, back to you. And with this being said, stay safe, Have a good rest of the week. Hope to see you again next Tuesday, same place and time here. Rock on. Ciao from me. Bye.